of East Texas. You're watching Good Morning East Texas.
None of us have a place to go, now to live.
And authorities believe the fire that ripped through this apartment building was not an accident. Plus, why this Texas police chief is in critical condition after a Halloween party shooting when he wasn't even on duty. Good morning, East Texas. Thanks so much for joining us. Today is Monday, November 2nd. Oh man, a new week, a new month. And Cedric Haynes is here now with details on the weather where you live. Hey, more changes on the way this week, it sounds like.
Yes, that's exactly right, Lane. We've got a period of dry weather that's on the way. That's some good news. And then we would follow that up with yet another good soaker headed our way. Outside now, we're not dealing with so much in the way of rain, but if you look closely, you can see some of that patchy, dense fog showing up, and we'll see more of that developing throughout the morning, especially in our northwestern counties. Outside now, 57 in Athens, 62 Jacksonville, 62 in Henderson, and we've got 63 degrees in Longview and Tyler, 61 degrees in Canton. Of course, temperatures fairly close to the dew point means that allows for that potential of some fog. Now, let's talk about yesterday. What a soaker we saw on our Sunday. We had what we call that upper level low that just kind of sat over East Texas and kind of pivoted its way across the region, and that brought in some torrential downpours once again on our Sunday. A little more rain than expected there for you, and we saw over an inch in several areas. Now you can see that upper low, the last of that, rotating on out of here overnight, and we're just dealing with the clouds, fog, and mist after that rainfall. But check it out. 24-hour totals on average from Doppler radar estimating anywhere between a half an inch to an inch of rainfall fell once again across East Texas. So throw that in the bucket from all what we already have seen the past couple of days. There's the last of that low pressure. You can see the upper low now finally spinning and moving away with the main system now catching up to that. And so for us, we're starting to see skies clear back to the west, but we've got to get rid of that morning fog. And then I think we'll see some afternoon sunshine. So as we go throughout the day, minus the front there, we're going to be looking at a mixture of clouds and some sunshine. But I think overall we'll stay dry. Temperatures remaining fairly on the cool side. But check it out in your rain chances trends. Again, this week, we're staying dry for most of the next couple of days. Just some morning mist out there. But by Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday, those rain chances, yeah, they ramp up again with our next storm system, so get ready for it. At this morning, heading out to the bus stop, watch out for that patchy, dense fog. Again, if you're going to be out and about, be careful around those bus stop zones as well with that fog that will develop across the area. And then heading into the afternoon, we should see that burning off with temperatures back into the low to mid 70s across the region. Of course, we've got a drying period of weather after today coming up for us, but by the end of the week, our next storm system is on the way with more good soaking rainfall. We'll talk much more about that and something different with this system. How about some colder air?
Oh,
introduce
wow.
that into the mix as well.
A double whammy there.
Yes.
We really lucked out though with Halloween. It looked like for the most part we were dry.
Yeah, we were dry. I expected it to stay dry, but that upper low came out of nowhere and just sat over East Texas Sunday. But hey, at least Halloween was dry.
And of course, Cedric got plenty of candy.
Oh, always. Hey, I'll try to share a few pieces.
Just a couple.
Just a couple.
Thanks,
yeah.
Cedric. An East Texas woman is behind bars this morning after a fire at a Lindale apartment complex. Sunday, authorities were called to the Scenic Hills apartment complex at 317 South Industrial shortly after 1 a.m. 26-year-old Tiffany Collins was taken into custody on an arson charge and is in the Smith County Jail right now. Good morning, East Texas's Paul Rivera went to the apartment complex and spoke to residents about the fire.
At the Scenic Hills apartment complex, authorities taking a look around, allowing those who lived here to gather the few belongings they have left. The fire ripped through half of the building's second floor, where not much remains. The moment described by residents as frantic.
Saw the lady coming down the sidewalk crawling. She had jumped out of the window. I got right on the phone with 911, let them know what was going on and everything, and I helped everybody else get out by yelling their names and fire.
Some losing everything, no longer able to live in their apartments. They're left wondering, what next?
None of us have a place to go, now to live.
Maureen Haynes, whose daughter lives here, says there's going to be a tough road ahead.
We're going to try to rebuild. That's all we can do. We got to find a place that she can afford to live and to replace her stuff to where she's got something to live with.
Residents of other buildings in the complex, so close to the fire, are glad it didn't spread.
It's just nerve-wracking to be in a position like this. was hoping that we was all safe, and we was.
That's safety, the positive that can be taken out of this ordeal.
And all I can do is thank the Lord Jesus that he was with them. That's all I can do.
For Good Morning East Texas, I'm Paul Rivera.
The fire marshal's office is still trying to determine exactly how the fire was started. One person was hurt and was treated for broken bones. A traffic stop lands an East Texas man in jail on drug charges. DPS troopers stopped 18-year-old Cole Hilton of Gladewater early Sunday morning. Hilton was found to be in possession of marijuana and other drugs. He's now charged with marijuana possession and possession of a controlled substance. This morning, he's still in the Gregg County Jail. A follow-up this morning, Tyler police are asking for your help in finding 2 shooting suspects. Around 8 o'clock Saturday night, police were called to an apartment complex on Biloxi Drive. The victim says he was sitting in a car when 2 men approached him, opened the door, and shot him in the hand. He got away from the men and was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. It's 4:36. A police chief is in critical condition at this hour after being shot near Waco. Authorities in Temple say Marlin Police Chief Daryl Allen was working off-duty as security at a bar when he was shot during an altercation with a customer. The accused shooter, 24-year-old Derek Wayne Gamble, is charged with assault on a peace officer. The National Weather Service reports at least 1 possible tornado touched down in Louisiana on Sunday. Powerful winds tore panels off this man's roof in Hammond, Louisiana, near Baton Rouge. Fences were also flattened to the ground. No serious injuries have been reported so far. The death toll from the weekend rains in South Texas is now at 6. Authorities in Travis County say 67-year-old Inez Garza and her husband were swept away from their home. Now, Garza's husband was rescued, but her body was found about 2 miles away from their property. Family members say sheriff's deputies gave them the bad news.
We're hoping and praying and holding out hope that the call would be a different call, but it was what it was.
We know she's up there and, in a better place, and she's smiling down on us, and she's our little angel now. And so I'm very happy that she's finally found a happy place.
Houston also took a heavy blow from the weather. Authorities conducted more than 130 water rescues in the area. 2 people died in Houston, but authorities have not determined if those deaths are weather-related. The chilly and relentless rain made for a miserable weekend, and it has some East Texas homeless shelters straining to take care of more people. Good Morning East Texas's Bob Hallmark has more on how the rain has the homeless and travelers looking for cover.
Aside from the chilling rain causing miserable driving conditions, it has the homeless and those in need coming to places like the Highway 80 rescue mission in large numbers.
Yes, sir. How can I help you?
We are seeing more women and children come in due to the weather, cooler weather, and the rain, yes.
They come in, they're soaking wet, they need a change of clothes, they may need to get a shower or a bite to eat.
The men's and women's shelters are quickly filling up and straining shelter resources.
As far as resources, it does put more of a demand on the food that we provide. Not only food, but also blankets. So food donations will be in need.
Well, it's really cold, wet, miserable. It's hard to get work because no one's wanting to come and work while it's raining.
Because of the weather conditions, the shelters are not turning anyone away, even those who may be prohibited from staying there.
They may have fell under some type of restriction that didn't allow them to come back. We'll put them under inclement weather and let them stay.
Workers say the simple access to a shower, a hot meal, and a warm blanket could give some the hope they need.
They're needing a warm place to stay. They're wanting to get out of the weather and find a place that they can come to get back on their feet.
We're straining right now. We'll try our best to help them.
For Good Morning East Texas, I'm Bob Hallmark.
Both men's and women's shelters at Highway 80 Rescue Mission say they will not turn anyone away during inclement weather, even if they are over capacity. As early as today, the last person jailed in connection with a deadly biker gang shootout at a Waco restaurant could be released from jail. A Waco jail was processing the release of 38-year-old Marcus Pilkington this weekend on a $50,000 bond. Pilkington was one of 177 people arrested after the May shooting that left 9 people dead. They were all charged with organized criminal activity, but no one has been charged with any of the deaths as of yet. Well, some good news this morning for Walking Dead fans. Still ahead here on GMET, the new announcement made by the network and what the show will have in common with Mad Men. But first,
J.C. Boucher was a crypto technician in World War II. I'm Joan Hallmark, and Freedom Fighters is coming up.
taking our first look outside this morning at our Grant and Flannery neighborhood weather net site. Poor Cedric is over here screaming, spoiler alert for that. That mad, The Walking Dead story. In White House, there's no surprise there. It is 62 degrees, a cool, comfortable start to your work week. Poor Cedric is in shock. We'll try and help him gather himself here in the break. It's 4:40. Stay with us.
Skylar Gallup on KLTV 7 News.
Good morning, Sulphur Springs. It is 62 degrees at 4:43. J.D. Boucher went into the Air Force in 1945 and was trained in cryptography, the coding and decoding of messages. Good morning, East Texas's Joan Hallmark has his story in this morning's Freedom Fighters.
I made a commitment to the Air Force when I was 17.
J.C. Boucher tried to go into the service right out of high school.
Then you could go into the Navy or the Marines at 17, but you couldn't go into the Army or Air Force until you were 18. So I made commitment when I was 17, and they called me up when I was 18.
Boucher was assigned to the Army Airwaves Communication System and trained in cryptology as a crypto technician whose duty was to code and decode messages. He was sent to Munich, Germany, where the war had just ended, although it was still raging in the South Pacific. On August 6th and August 9th of 1945, atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, causing Japan to surrender on August 14th. With World War II ending and the Cold War paused to begin, the coding and decoding of highly sensitive messages were still a priority.
Movement of certain planes or personnel, and the rest of it just normal.
Boucher says while most of the German population was tired of war, some Hitler Youth members were still causing problems, and the airport had to be watched constantly for sabotage.
Every morning we would have to check the runway. They use dirt runways over there, and when the Americans came in, they put down a metal, those big corrugated metal runways, and they're perforated, and we'd have to check every morning bright and early, because sometimes they would take old little stobs like that and sharpen them and stick them in those runway, in those holes, and try to do a little sabotage.
After a year in Munich, Boucher returned to the U.S. and resumed his life in education. He was a member of the Floyd Wagstaff first post-war championship basketball team at Tyler Junior College, and would later become an icon to fishermen after developing the popular lures, the hot spot, and rattle trap. And yet, J.C. Boucher says today that his time in the Air Force was one of the most important times in his life.
Well, I'd do it again tomorrow.
For Good Morning East Texas, I'm Joan Hallmark.
Now, if you or someone you know served our country in combat, we'd love to hear from you. Just send your information to Freedom Fighters, 105 West Ferguson, Tyler, Texas, 75702. Well, more films make their debut, but one continues to hold on to the top spot. Coming up, the big winners at the box office this weekend, and the films fighting to take first place this week. Plus, Amazon is giving away free vinyl records. Still ahead, how you can become one of those lucky winners. But first, a look outside. The Grant and Flannery Neighborhood Weather Net site in Athens at the Texas Freshwater Fisheries Center. 61 degrees, calm wind, and 100% humidity. 4:47 here on a Monday. We've got much more ahead. Stay with us.
The Storm Tracker Live Doppler Network, the most accurate weather where you live.
Good morning, East Texas. Outside on Storm Tracker Live Doppler radar, we're finally saying goodbye to the rainfall after a soaker on our Sunday. There's the culprit, the upper level low beginning to make its way off to the east quickly. That's bringing an end to the rainfall, but we do have some clouds, some fog, and mist that's out there. There's our actual low pressure now, quickly skedaddling out of here over Mississippi now, catching up with our cold front, so it's moving away. Backside of it, we've got some fog and mist out there this morning, but eventually we'll see some of that dry air filtering on in from the north. But again, we're talking about some dense fog in the northwestern sections of the area. Visibility is less than a half a mile in Athens, up towards Greenville, less than 2 miles in Sulphur Springs, and some of this may try to spread a little farther towards the east later this morning. Dense fog advisory in effect for the northwestern sections of the area. Temperatures this morning, yeah, they're pretty comfortable, but also uniform in the upper 50s to lower 60s out there for us, and we'll see temperatures slowly try to recover today. We'll have that morning fog till about midday, and then by late this afternoon, we top out into the low 70s, maybe the mid 70s across the area with a mixture of sun and clouds trying to break through, and then by tonight we'll head back down into the 50s area wide before we warm up into the mid 70s on Tuesday as the winds come in out of the south and east. Now let's jump ahead. We've got more rain on the way. This upper low pressure, the next one by Thursday over the southwest and the Four Corners will make its way to the east, increasing our rain chances once again. Another good soaker on the way heading into your Thursday night. It'll be fairly wet, and even on Friday this front is going to kind of hang up across the area, so we'll see off and on rain chances. The difference with this front, behind it, it's going to bring in some colder air across the area, so get ready for some cold air to dive in from the northern plains. Overall, again, another good soaker. How about another inch to maybe as much as an inch and a half of rainfall with the system across East Texas? So, hey, we're in the rain now. Here's a look at that extended forecast, though. Some morning mist out there, 74 degrees for your high with that fog. 75 Tuesday, 76 Wednesday. So the forecast after this morning looks pretty decent for the next few days. Get out there and enjoy it, Lane, because bigger changes on the way, especially by the time we get towards the weekend there. So we'll break all of that down for you in the 7-day in just a few moments.
We can't just shake it. It seems there's no way just to stick in one consistent pattern.
Well, we stuck into a very dry, quiet pattern for about 3-4 months earlier this year, and we've out of that now. We're good.
Frantic Mother Nature, she's back.
El Nino is paying a visit.
There you go. Thanks, Cedric. We'll check in again in a bit. Time for some stories to get your Monday started. Here's your Morning Minute. Well, Cedric, listen carefully. All you other Walking Dead fans can rejoice. AMC has actually renewed the top-rated zombie drama for a 7th season. He's already doing his dance on the other side of the studio. This will make The Walking Dead tie with Mad Men as the longest-running original scripted series for the network. And Reese Witherspoon has added to her honors with the American Cinematic Award for Mid-Career Achievement. The star of Legally Blonde accepted the prize from previous winner Matthew McConaughey, East Texas native, with fellow stars Jennifer Garner and Kate Hudson looking on. Witherspoon said it's a good time to stop and look back and reflect on her life. And finally this morning, did the Halloween spirit spook weekend filmgoers? Well, not here in East Texas. A couple of box office flops kept The Martian flying high at the movies. Sandra Bullock's Our Brand is Crisis and Bradley Cooper's Burnt didn't do so well. Not enough to fire ticket sales, at least. The Martian took in an estimated $11 million. Goosebumps was second, and Bridge of Spies came in third. And that's what's happening in Hollywood. All in a minute. We'll be right back. Time now is 4:55. Check this out. Amazon's giving away free vinyl records. It's a contest to celebrate the relaunch of its vinyl store. The retailer started the offer on October 23rd, and today is day 11, so you only have 2 more days to win. And you can check out Amazon.com to enter for a chance to win that day's prize. So I guess you don't really have your pick. It's just what they're offering.
Yeah, the random. Yeah, so, you might get, one of the top countdown. What was it? Casey Kasem?
Yeah,
Casey Kasem or something. You can get somebody else.
You know what they say, beggars can't be choosers.
That's
here.
Exactly
so
right.
Just be happy you're getting something for free.
And it could be historic free, So
we got a lot of rain for free this weekend.
I'll tell you what,
that rain just stuck around the entire day on Saturday.
It did. It was Saturday. Well, Saturday it cleared up to trick-or-treat time. And then it came back on Sunday. We said, hello? When you woke up and we had the sprinkles and mist, and then all of a sudden, throughout the day, it just increased. And you know what happened? We had that upper low that kind of wound up sneaking farther towards the south, right over East Texas. And interestingly enough, Had this been 2 or 3 months down the line, that would be the perfect setup for a winter storm.
Oh, wow.
Back in March of a couple of years ago when we had the big ice storm.
Sure.
That's what happened. And so luckily we're warming up for just rain, but boy, was it quite the soaker.
Boy, it looks like our friends in Southeast Texas really got it bad this weekend.
They did. And we've got more on the way. Yet another storm system on the way. This one may have something in the form of colder air with it, though.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Plenty to talk about this morning.
That's right.
Cedric, thanks. It's 4:57. Police in Pennsylvania are investigating a sharp surprise found in Halloween candy. Still ahead in our next hour, how authorities plan to pin charges on whoever put sewing needles in chocolate. A washout at the State Fair of Louisiana could be good news for those of us here across the state line in East Texas. The surprise in store for fairgoers. It's 4:57 here on GMET. And in Palestine, 60 degrees. We are back right after this.
Let the news follow you. From exclusive web content to text and email alerts, get your news wherever you are. From news and weather to high school football or even great cooking recipes, download our family of apps today. Anissa Centers, weekdays on KLTV 7 News. Caring, committed, proud of East Texas. You're watching Good Morning East Texas.
That's something that make you, I don't know, it make you think about driving a truck, I guess.
Roadside explosion. An East Texas highway is shut down right now after a fiery crash. We'll take you to the scene straight ahead. Authorities are combing through the debris, trying to figure out exactly what went wrong in that Russian airplane disaster. What the final moments of that flight might reveal. Good morning, East Texas. Thanks so much for joining us. Today is Monday, November 2nd. Here we are in a new month and some cool weather here on the way. Cedric Haynes is here now with details in the weather where you live. Good Monday to you.
Good morning, Lane. And I'll tell you what, after a soaker this weekend, we've got a couple of dry days before more changes are on the way. Outside now, you can see it's dry, although we still have some wet pavement. But if you notice in the distance, a little patchy dense fog trying to develop areas to the north and west here across East Texas, from Greenville down towards Terrell, over towards Athens. We've got some very dense fog. Look at that. Visibility is now down to 0 in Athens now. And that's a concern for us this morning here as we track that fog. So I do want to let you know there is a dense fog advisory in effect for our northwestern sections from Sulphur Springs to Athens down towards the Anderson County area. And this is out until mid-morning today as we see some of that dense fog. If you're traveling west towards Dallas on I-20, you're going to run into some really dense fog out there. Otherwise, temperatures very uniform in the 50s and lower 60s across the area. So not too bad this morning as we start off our day on this Monday. Rain coming to an end finally. That upper low finally shifting off to our east. But man, look at this. Yesterday dropped another ½ an inch to an inch of rainfall. Yet another soaker across the area. There's the upper low now moving off to the east. We're going to see some fog this morning and then some drier, clear skies developing later today. Our future radar showing us a mix of sun and clouds, but we'll climb into the low to mid 70s this afternoon. But overall, it's going to be one of those days that we'll be seeing improving weather. But check it out. Our rain chances decrease for the next few days, but really ramp up Thursday into Friday. That's our next storm system that will be on the way. Foggy this morning, so use careful caution if you're going to be at the bus stops or traveling by any of those bus stops locations. And as we see that drier weather coming in the next few days, next rain chance by late week. We'll much more about that and some much cooler weather to follow this system in just a moment.
So an opportunity now. Your advance notice, go ahead and start looking for those jackets and long sleeve shirts.
Yeah, we may need to pull out the jackets and the sweaters this weekend. So we'll talk much more about that with our system in just a moment.
All those specifics coming up. It's 5:03, breaking overnight. One person is dead and another is in the hospital after a fiery crash south of Texarkana. Witnesses reported multiple explosions around 10 o'clock last night on Highway 59 near the Sulphur River. And this is new video just in. Bowie County authorities tell us one of the 2 vehicles involved was a tanker believed to have been loaded with some kind of fuel. Law enforcement say one person died at the scene. And at this point, we don't know the condition of another person taken to the hospital. The names of those involved have not been released.
When we come around the curve right there, we seen it light up. I mean, it had this whole side lit up.
Both lanes of Highway 59 there in Bowie County will remain closed through the morning commute. A hazmat crew is at the scene right now clearing the mess, and we'll continue following this story throughout the morning here on GMET. And now to Russia, where the bodies of the dead are now arriving in St. Petersburg after Saturday's tragic airline crash that killed all the passengers returning from a resort town in Egypt. President Vladimir Putin declared a nationwide day of mourning. Flags flew at half-staff, and today experts are trying to understand how this tragedy happened. ABC's Lana Zach has the latest on the investigation.
This morning, the remains of more than 140 bodies are returning to grief-stricken families in St. Petersburg, Russia. Among the 224 dead, 25 children. These photos show happy families ready to make their way home from a vacation in the resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Today, authorities are digging deeper into the mystery of what brought down the plane just 23 minutes after takeoff.
This happened so quickly, so instantaneously, that there may not be any evidence on those black boxes. So what's going to be more important is looking at the wreckage on the ground, how it's laid out.
With 8 miles of scattered debris, one theory, a bomb.
The probability is here with an in-flight breakup that something caused that, something on the order of a bomb or an incendiary explosion of some sort on the airplane.
Another theory, human error or a problem with the plane. The ex-wife of the co-pilot says he had complained about the Airbus 321, including on the morning of the crash. And a final theory, could terrorists on the ground have taken out the plane? An ISIS-linked group claimed responsibility, but intelligence officials say they lack the missiles that could take out a plane flying at 31,000 feet.
Some of the claims of responsibility we're hearing from terrorist groups do not jibe with what might have happened to this airplane.
And while terrorism from the ground is extremely unlikely, according to experts, several airlines have pledged not to fly in that space until authorities determine exactly what went wrong. Lana Zach, ABC News, Washington.
And just in minutes ago, Metrojet officials now say the plane lost speed over Egypt rapidly before the crash. It's 5:06 and a follow-up this morning. Tyler police are asking for your help to find 2 shooting suspects. Around 8 o'clock Saturday night, police were called to an apartment complex on Biloxi Drive. The victim says he was sitting in a car when 2 men approached him, opened the door, and shot him in the hand. He got away from the men and was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. As early as today, the last person jailed in connection with a deadly biker gang shootout at a Waco restaurant could be released from jail. A Waco jail was processing the release of 38-year-old Marcus Pilkington this weekend on a $50,000 bond. Pilkington was one of the 177 people arrested after that May shooting. It left 9 people dead. Now, all of those charged face charges of organized criminal activity, but no one has been charged with any of the deaths just yet. This morning, authorities are still investigating a fire at a Smith County apartment complex. That fire started shortly before 1 a.m. Sunday at Scenic Hills Apartments on South Industrial Drive in Lindale. 26-year-old Tiffany Collins is now charged with arson. She's being held on a $750,000 bond. Residents have been allowed to gather whatever belongings weren't damaged in the fire. Some lost everything and can no longer live in their apartments. One person was hurt and treated for broken bones.
Saw the lady coming down the sidewalk crawling. She had jumped out of the window. I got right on the phone with 911, let them know what was going on and everything, and I helped everybody else get out by yelling their names and fire.
The fire marshal's office is still trying to determine exactly how the fire was started. Well, there's a week left of the State Fair of Louisiana, and this year's been a washout in comparison to years past. And to make up for it, officials in Shreveport are opening the fair up an extra day tomorrow, November 3rd. Parking and admission will be free all day. Fair officials are also weighing their options on extending the fair an extra week as well.
Now, it wouldn't be the entire fair because a lot of these people have schedules they have to meet. The concessionaires, a lot of the attractions we booked in, but the carnival would be available. Our zoo would be available. We'd probably put some entertainment on the entertainment stage.
Now, there hasn't been an official decision yet, but it depends on the weather for that week. Well, as you wake up this morning, you might be thinking, what am I going to do with all of this Halloween candy? Well, dentists all over East Texas, they're offering you a sweet deal in exchange for your child's candy. Several offices are letting you turn over a pound of treats for a toy. And the candy is used for an even sweeter idea. It will be shipped to our troops overseas in care packages for Operation Gratitude. Now, if you'd like to find a dentist near you that's participating, just head to our websites, KTRE.com or KLTV.com. Click the big red box and find the link, Sweet Deal, donate Halloween candy. Well, this was no treat, and it certainly isn't a trick. Finding a needle in your child's candy is a nightmare come true for parents in Pennsylvania. Rahel Solomon reports.
We all checked our Twix and our Skittles and our sneakers, but we didn't find any in the sneakers. We only found them in the Twix.
For little Miguel Luna, the day after Halloween this year was spent at the Kennett Square Police Department. Instead of eating his candy, he's trying to help police understand why his Twix reportedly had a needle in it.
It's very disturbing. It's very disturbing.
How can anybody do anything like that? That's just unbelievable.
Police say around midnight they received a report of sewing-like needles in 5 Twix bars, apparently from Miguel and some of his other friends. Miguel says he first saw a post on Facebook about a needle in a Snickers bar, so he and his friends, all ages 7 to 12, checked theirs and made the apparent discovery.
There were 4 kids involved. They're not all related, 2 separate families, but they all went trick-or-treating together in the Stenion Hills area.
Police tell Eyewitness News they investigate all complaints as legitimate until proven otherwise, but the report was enough to prompt police to send out alerts early Sunday morning, warning neighbors.
They just said that you should check the candy again.
By Sunday afternoon, another child came forward to report he found a needle in his Snickers bar. Police say they do not think that 12-year-old went trick-or-treating with Miguel and the others.
What did you think when you saw that?
We were all nervous when we called the police because we didn't know what was gonna happen. Then we all came to the house. Everybody checked their candy.
Well, police say none of the candy was ingested and no one was hurt, thankfully. They say if this turns out to be legitimate, the person responsible likely faces at least reckless endangerment charges. Can you believe we always have the warnings? Came true. Well, many of you know this too well. A new parent and a good night's sleep is a rare combination. Still ahead this morning, why this particular kind of sleep disruption seems to make such a mess of us. Type 2 diabetes is not just for adults. Coming up here, we'll look at its effects on the younger generation. But first, a look outside at the weather where you live. Our Grant and Flannery Neighborhood Weather Net site in Yantis, 59 degrees. Staying cool here in East Texas. We'll have details on the forecast and your next chance for rain. Oh boy, that's coming up next. Stick around, it's 5:11.
Investigative journalism isn't just about the big stories. It's about giving your neighbors a voice and making sure they get the help they need. And nobody does it better than we do. 7 Investigates, only on KLTV 7 News. Storm Tracker Weather is sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Well, good morning, East Texas. On this Monday, we're finally seeing things drying out there, at least temporarily. We've got our upper low that brought us all the rain on Sunday, pushing off to the east finally. Still have some clouds, fog, and mist out there. In fact, there is a dense fog advisory for our western counties here from down towards Anderson and Houston counties all the way up towards Athens and Sulphur Springs. So keep that in mind. Slow it down. Use those low beams out there this morning and give yourself extra space between you and the vehicle in front of you. Foggy weather now. We'll get some drier air in here on the backside of our storm system here for later today, so we'll begin to see this fog break up. But right now, visibility's down to 0 right now in Athens. Use extreme caution if you're going to be out and about traveling today. Temperatures very uniform out there for us this morning in the 50s and 60s across the area. Overall, very comfortable and cool as you start the day. Dry air will continue to work its way in throughout the day. We'll start to see some sunshine peeking through the clouds, so we'll call a high of about the mid-70s for us today. Tonight, we head back down into the 50s across the area, and we climb back into the 70s, mid-70s again on your Tuesday as we get that southeasterly wind kicking in. We're already tracking our next storm system that will, yes, bring us more rain, and then something else. Check this out. Here's our low pressure as it moves over the area by Thursday. Brings in the rain. Rain chances really ramp up Thursday into Thursday night. Even into Friday, this front kind of hangs up across the area, so we're going to see off and on chances of showers Friday, maybe even into your Saturday. And then behind this front, we're talking about some colder air making its way in. That's the difference with this storm system, and you'll notice some changes by the weekend. So overall, another good soaker on the way. How about another 1 to 1.5 inches of rainfall? Very possible as we head towards the end of the week. And then as that morning fog burns out, we're looking at mid-70s the next few days. But there's the next rain chance Thursday into Friday. And look at that lane by the weekend. Highs struggling to get into the 60s, lows in the 30s and 40s by Sunday and Monday.
I was going to say 43. I see you sneaking in there.
That's in the city. Of course, outlying areas will likely be in the 30s.
And we know the cool spots that we tend to see across East Texas. So we'll keep an eye on
Wear
this.
those sweaters.
Yeah, that extra blanket on the bed.
That's right.
Thanks, Cedric. Well, type 2 diabetes used to be known as adult onset because it's most common among middle-aged and the elderly, but not anymore. A growing number of young people are being diagnosed with the illness. Reporter Jennifer Wallen has the details in this morning's Med Team report.
15-year-old Hadassah Lewis loves to sing and draw. She also has type 2 diabetes. She was diagnosed when she was just 11 years old.
There are more children now being diagnosed with adult onset or type 2 diabetes, and there are more adults who are being diagnosed with type 1 or adult onset diabetes or childhood onset diabetes.
A study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that between 2001 and 2009, the number of type 2 diabetes cases jumped by over 30% in children aged 10 to 19.
And the obesity epidemic is resulting in what we're seeing today, which is adult onset type 2 diabetes happening in children.
According to the American Diabetes Association, approximately 30 million children and adults have diabetes in the United States. Out of that number, nearly 95% have type 2 diabetes. And Dr. Muir says controlling type 2 diabetes in kids isn't as successful as it is in adults.
About half of kids who get type 2 diabetes need insulin, or within about 3 to 5 years of diagnosis are going to need insulin, which is much sooner and much more common than we see in adults.
Jennifer Whalen, CNN, Atlanta.
The bottom line when it comes to preventing type 2 diabetes, stay active and eat healthy and follow your doctor's orders. New research might tell us why that particular kind of sleep disruption makes such a mess of us. Well, scientists say crabbiness isn't connected to how little sleep we're getting. It's how interrupted sleep is. Researchers studied sleep patterns in 3 groups. Both the late-to-bed group and the awakened group had worse moods the next day. The group that was interrupted felt worse and worse in both mood and energy levels. And that's even when they were getting the same overall amount of sleep as others. It may be a first step to help the 10% of Americans who suffer from insomnia. A new study shows that changing the way donor lungs are shared could result in almost twice as many lung transplants for pediatric patients. The research team tested 4 alternatives to the current system. The 2 most promising models allow adolescent and child lungs to be offered first to potential pediatric recipients within a 1,000-mile radius before offering them to adults. Current rules only allow pediatric lungs to be shared with children within 500 miles. Researchers say this will ensure organs go to the sickest kids first.
What we're doing is actually just improving the access of children to organs, but we were not able to detect any decline in transplant rates for adults, and we were not able to detect increased death rates on the wait list for adults.
The new transplant policy is expected to be chosen and approved by early December. Well, this is fascinating. Sherwin-Williams has created a paint it says can kill bacteria, major cause of healthcare-associated infections in hospitals. Paint Shield claims to kill over 99.9% of these bacteria after they've been on a painted surface for 2 hours. The product can be used on hard, non-porous ceilings, walls, doors, and trim, and is reportedly effective for up to 4 years. The paint will come in 590 colors and be available in the U.S. in 2016. Now, to be deemed effective, the CDC says it must meet a lot of criteria and undergo testing in both a lab and healthcare settings. This morning, an E. coli scare has temporarily closed more than 40 Chipotle restaurants in the Northwest. Health officials say 22 E. coli cases in Washington State and Oregon have been linked to Chipotle locations. 8 people have been hospitalized, but there are no reported deaths.
significant proportion of patients have been hospitalized, which should remind us all that E. coli is a potentially serious infection.
Now, the contamination has been linked to only 6 restaurants, but Chipotle says it closed more locations out of abundance of caution. The company says it'll work with health officials to figure out what caused the contamination. Well, Target wants your business this holiday season bad. How you can beat the crowds trying to take advantage of their Christmas cheer. Let's get a look outside at the weather where you live. Our Grant and Flannery Neighborhood WeatherNet site in Pittsburgh, 62 degrees the current temperature, 100% humidity. 6:20 is the time here on Monday. Stay with us, we've got a lot ahead.
Storm Tracker Weather is sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it. Storm Tracker Weather is sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Well, happy Monday, East Texas. Outside, the radar, believe it or not, is actually quiet this morning. That is some great news after a soaker on our Sunday. How about that? Upper low finally spinning off to the east now. We're seeing skies clearing out, drier weather on the way. But this morning, we've got some fog and mist behind that system. There is our upper low. It really hung back across East Texas and just sat there yesterday. That's what brought us all the rain. Now it's kicking off to the east and moving pretty quickly, of course. And then drier weather will filter into the area later on today. Outside this morning, though, we're tracking some dense fog. Visibility is less than, or now down to 0 miles an hour right now, or 0, I should say, visibilities in Athens. So use extreme caution if you're out traveling about. We do have dense fog advisories in effect for the western counties from Sulphur Springs to Athens down towards Anderson and Houston counties here. Slow it down. Use those low beam headlights and, of course, allow plenty of space between you and the vehicle in front of you. 50s and lower 60s. Comfortable temperatures as you step out the door this morning. We're watching out for that morning fog, giving way to some sunshine this afternoon, at least peaks of it, in between the clouds, with temperatures climbing into the mid-70s for highs. We're back into the 50s overnight tonight, and then we'll see that southeasterly flow kicking in. So we're back in the mid-70s again as we head towards your Tuesday afternoon as well. Now, we're tracking our next storm system. That will bring us more rainfall, and this one arrives as we head into your Thursday. Showers and thunderstorms breaking out once again with that southwesterly flow aloft. That is a wet pattern here in East Texas, and that means more rainfall Thursday into Thursday night. And the front kind of hangs up, so even on Friday into Saturday, we've got to keep some rain chances around. But behind this front, how about some colder air filtering on into East Texas? Yeah, we'll talk more about that in your 7-day in just a little bit. But for now, rainfall, we're talking 1 inch to 1.5 inches of beneficial rain on the way. So Lane, after this morning mist and fog, 74 for your highs, not bad, mid-70s through midweek.
So watch out for other drivers too.
Exactly. And when you go in those school zones as well, slow it down. Be careful.
Good advice, as always. Thanks, Cedric. We've got to look at the biggest headlines in business. Time for your Morning Minute. Target is once again offering free shipping on all orders online this holiday season for the 2nd year. Target's broader holiday plans include improving the quality of its home decor and apparel, as well as sprucing up displays in its stores. The retailer is also launching a website to sell products to over 200 countries and beginning a curbside pickup service at 121 stores this week. Some Honda owners will be getting recall notices before the end of the year. The automaker is recalling 300,000 Accords in the U.S. because the side airbags can inflate if a door is slammed too hard. The recall covers Accords from 2008 and 2009 model years. There have been 19 injury claims filed against Honda because of the problem. Dealers will update software to adjust the threshold for airbag inflation. Delta Airlines will be leaving the trade group Airlines for America sooner than expected. The group, which represents most of the large airlines, says that Delta disagreed with Airlines for America's push to move air traffic control from the FAA to a nonprofit corporation. That's a decision Congress is debating. And those are some of the headlines we're tracking for you here this Monday morning, all in a minute. Let's step outside now at Mount Enterprise. It's 70 degrees with our Grant and Flannery Neighborhood WeatherNet site. Winds are out of the north at 5 right now, gusting at times up to 23 miles per hour. Your time is 5:26 on GMET. We've got much more ahead. Don't go far. Just before 5:30 on GMET, breaking overnight, one person is dead and another is in the hospital after a fiery crash south of Texarkana. Witnesses reported multiple explosions around 10 o'clock last night on Highway 59. That's near the Sulphur River. And take a look at this. It's new video just in Bowie County authorities tell us one of the two vehicles involved was a tanker believed to have been carrying some kind of fuel. Law enforcement say one person died at the scene, and at this hour we don't know the condition of another person taken to the hospital. The names of those involved have not been released.
When we come around the curve right there, we seen it light up. I mean, it had this whole side lit up.
Both lanes of Highway 59 there in Bowie County will remain closed through the morning commute. A hazmat crew is at the scene right now, and we'll continue following the story for you throughout the morning here on GMET. This morning, the fallout continues over last week's CNBC Republican debate. The conservative outrage driving a wedge between the candidates and the Republican National Committee. As CNN's Reed Binion reports, the campaigns worked last night to get greater control of future debates.
I was very disappointed in the moderators. I think it was one gotcha question, one personal low blow after the other.
Those words from RNC Chairman Reince Priebus after last week's CNBC Republican presidential debate, setting the stage for days of withering criticism of the network. The RNC pulling out of NBC's Republican debate scheduled for February, and the campaigns coming together in Virginia Sunday to draft a list of demands for future debates. Convened by Ben Carson's campaign manager Barry Bennett, the 14 campaigns sought greater control in setting the terms for the debate.
We are burdened by the fact that we've got so many good candidates. I think they all should have a chance to speak. We're going to figure out what if we can come to some consensus about how they do that.
In a sign of dissatisfaction with the Republican National Committee, the campaign specifically did not include the RNC in Sunday's meeting, instead inviting Republican lawyer and debate negotiator Ben Ginsberg as an impartial facilitator.
The information flow has not been nearly what it's been in past years.
After the meeting, these demands emerged. A 2-hour time limit, 30 seconds for opening and closing statements, and equal speaking time for each candidate. And if those demands aren't met, something of a veiled threat to cut broadcast media out of the debate process.
I think we can look beyond television partnerships. Facebook and Twitter and Google and YouTube, they would all host a debate.
Well, the next GOP debate is set for November 10th. The next Democratic debate is scheduled for November 14th. It's 5:32. Immigration reform will have to wait until at least 2017 when President Obama leaves office. That's according to newly minted House Speaker Paul Ryan, who says he won't work with President Obama because of the president's executive order to shield millions of illegal immigrants from deportation. Ryan believes President Obama, quote, can't be trusted on the issue. Happening today, the Texas Supreme Court will take on a much-watched homeschooling case. At issue, where do religious liberty and parental rights to educate one's own child stop, and obligations to ensure homeschooled students actually learn something begin. An El Paso family is accused of failing to teach its 9 homeschooled children because they were, quote, waiting to be raptured. But the family says the children were educated and that their local school district is anti-Christian. Today, the death toll from this weekend's round of severe weather could rise as residents continue cleanup efforts in South Texas. Authorities say 2 people died in Houston, but it hasn't been determined if their deaths are related to the weather. Crews conducted more than 130 water rescues in and around Houston. Right now in South Texas, the death toll stands at 6. Officials in Travis County say 2 of those deaths were an elderly couple who were swept away from their home. The National Weather Service has confirmed that an EF2 tornado caused this damage in Friendswood near Houston. The tornado touched down on Saturday, damaging several homes and vehicles. And you can see here that the storm ripped the roof from homes and sent large pieces of debris into the air, including this piece that ended up piercing the white car you see there. Now to a follow-up. The last person jailed in connection with a deadly biker shootout at a Waco restaurant could be released from jail today. 38-year-old Marcus Pilkington was one of 177 people arrested after the May shooting that left 9 people dead outside this Twin Peaks restaurant. They were all charged with organized criminal activity, but no one has been charged with any of the deaths. Classes will resume today at Winston-Salem State University in North Carolina after a weekend shooting left 1 student dead and another hurt. The gunman is still on the loose at this hour, and police have not named any suspects or a possible motive. The shooting happened during the school's homecoming weekend. Instead of celebrating, students gathered last night for a candlelight vigil. Investigators in New York are now looking into whether a medical condition may have caused a motorist to smash into a group of trick-or-treaters. The crash killed 3 people, including a 10-year-old girl. Witnesses say the vehicle jumped the curb and went over another parked car before smashing into a gate. The driver and 3 others were hospitalized, and they are all expected to recover. This Dallas mother is in custody after police say she tried to kill her 4-year-old son with ant poison. Police say the woman also tried to make her 2 other children eat the poison but was unsuccessful. The 4-year-old is in stable condition at this hour, and the other 2 children are with a family member. A police chief is in critical condition this morning after being shot near Waco. Police in Temple say Chief Daryl Allen was working off-duty as security at a bar early Sunday morning when he was shot during an altercation. The accused shooter is in custody. He's charged with assault on a peace officer. Federal investigators are awaiting video confirmation that the wreckage found Saturday in 15,000 feet of water east of the Bahamas is the El Faro. The U.S. cargo ship vanished on October 1st while trying to bypass Hurricane Joaquin. 33 crew members were on board at the time. So far, none of their bodies have been recovered. Officials with the NTSB are hoping they can recover the ship's black box that might yield clues about how and why the ship went down.
I feel like I'm at tug of war with my heart and my head. That's what I feel like. That's the best way that I can put it. Because my head wants answers, but my heart wants hope. So it's struggling to find that balance.
Officials say the ship will not be recovered, but they say search crews will try to recover any human remains found in the wreckage. It's 5:36. Open enrollment is underway for the Affordable Care Act, and the marketplace is expected to be more expensive this time around. The Department of Health and Human Services says premiums will increase an average of 8% for the primary insurance plan. But the administration says the number of plans has gone down and for most areas, and prices have dropped by about $75 a month. You have until January 31st to enroll on healthcare.gov. Time now is 5:37 here on Good Morning East Texas. It is 63 degrees in Longview. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Storm Tracker Weather is sponsored by ABC Auto Parts and people you can trust.
Well, happy Monday, East Texas. We're starting off with dry weather on Storm Tracker Live Radar. Can you believe that? What a soaker we had yet again this weekend. The last of that system, that upper low moving off here. You can see around midnight, still some showers over deep East Texas, but those have come to an end now, which is some great news for us. Let's expand the view out. There's our storm system. That upper low just sat over East Texas on Sunday and kind of pivoted back over the area, so that kept throwing moisture our way. That's why it rained pretty much all day. Now that system finally moving off to the east. We've got some foggy weather in place this morning, also some morning mist, but the dry weather will filter in throughout the day, and that should help to see some improving weather. But our fog tracker becoming busy this morning. Visibility is very low in the northwestern sections of the area. At times, visibility is near zero. We got to watch that very closely. In fact, we've got a dense fog advisory in effect for our western counties here, and that goes through 10 a.m. Slow it down, use those low beams and headlights out there, and of course remember to allow plenty of space between you and the vehicle in front of you. Temperatures, oh man, comfortable. 50s and lower 60s out there, and as we go throughout the day, we'll climb into the mid-70s for highs with that sunshine peeking through the clouds. Tonight we head down into the 50s, and a southeasterly flow kicks in for your Tuesday, so we'll get into the mid-70s again with more in the way of sunshine. But yes, we are already tracking our next rain event. More rain on the way as we head into Thursday as this low pressure dives in. Southwest flow aloft, a very wet pattern for us, means more showers and storms Thursday into Thursday night. That continues into Friday and even Saturday as the front kind of hangs up across the area. But behind this system, some much colder air begins to filter on into the area. The first real blast of the season headed our way. But between now and then, we're talking an inch to maybe as much as an inch and a half of rainfall on the way. 74 today. Watch out for that morning fog, mid-70s. For the rest of the next several days. Lane?
Cedric, thanks. This morning, authorities are still investigating a fire at a Smith County apartment complex. That blaze started shortly before 1 a.m. Sunday at Scenic Hills Apartments on South Industrial Drive in Lindale. 26-year-old Tiffany Collins is now charged with arson. She's being held on a $750,000 bond. Residents have been allowed to gather whatever belongings weren't damaged in the fire. Some lost everything and can no longer live in their apartments. One person was hurt and was treated for broken bones.
Saw the lady coming down the sidewalk crawling. She had jumped out of the window. I got right on the phone with 911, let them know what was going on and everything, and I helped everybody else get out by yelling their names and fire.
The Smith County Fire Marshal's office is still trying to determine exactly how the fire was started. Right now, Tyler police are asking for your help finding a shooting suspect. Around 8 o'clock Saturday night, police were called to an apartment complex on Biloxi Drive. The victim says he was sitting in a car when two men approached him, opened the door, and shot him in the hand. The man was able to get away from the attackers and was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. It's now 5:43, and more than half of aging dogs are at risk of cancer, according to a new veterinary study. Dr. Sharon Phillips says although cancer can surface at any time, there are things pet owners can do. She says most vet clinics in East Texas are able to do at least minimal chemotherapy, saving families with pets time traveling to bigger cities. Phillips says treating lumps before they spread is key to pet survival. Coming up here in our next half hour, Alex Ositis speaks with a pet owner about how her dog responded to treatment for cancer. A Delaware boy is his own hero this morning. Coming up, how his time at the library helped him overcome a big obstacle. And it's the DIY project that's giving this fourth grader a helping hand. Outside right now with our Grant and Flannery neighborhood weather net site in Mount Enterprise, 70 degrees starting out here, another work week. Time now is 5:44. We've got much more ahead. Stay with us. Good morning, Mineola. It's 63 degrees right now at 5:47. A Delaware fourth grader turned to a do-it-yourself plan to fix his own left hand. All it took was some directions, a lot of determination, and a trip to his local library, where a 3D printer really came in handy. ABC's John Don Van introduces us to the boy who's being called the Wonder Kid.
It could be just part of the costume Colin Savage wore this weekend, this bionic hand, but it's not, because first, it really works, see? And not just the light.
Trick or treat. I can do peace sign, and I can also do a thumbs up.
Second, Colin was born with a condition that even after several surgeries has left him with fingers that do not grab or pick up. A bionic hand, it's just what he needs. So he hears about this, that there are now 3D printers capable of creating simple prosthetic hands. In fact, we've introduced some of these kids to you who got them before, like Annie Emmert of California, Alex Pring of Florida, where the same basic idea is in play. These 3D printers create the parts for devices that cost not tens of thousands of dollars, but only hundreds, because the designs are available online. So when Colin hears that his local library's printer is being made available to him,
My reaction was...
The printing out took about a day and a half, and then assembly with his mom helping, and then voila.
We're at the school that day, and everybody thought it was really cool.
Good attitude? Yep.
The thing we always hope for, we wanted to raise him to be comfortable.
And by the way, this is just a starter project. Better hands are coming. And you can be sure Colin will be grabbing for one of those.
This is so cool.
Wow.
You can find all kinds of amazing things at the library.
Yeah.
But this is really neat. It makes me feel good about the future and excited.
Yeah, and to see kids so creative at such a young age. I mean, think about that. That's technology that can be used in the future as you kind of work on that better.
This is why you always hear people saying, oh, we need to support STEM.
Yeah.
You know, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics studies at an early age.
That's exactly right. You know, my old school system, I went back home last week on vacation and did some school visits there, but they have big STEM labs there, and so it's great to go back, and the teachers invest a lot of money in their own personal money even into providing supplies for that. It's great.
A little boy printing his own hand.
Just look at that. Did you see that?
So cool.
Wow.
Oh, speaking of cool, we've got some nice weather here starting out this morning.
We do. It's a little comfortable out there for us, but we've got that fog that's pretty dense in some locations.
You will notice that.
You will notice that out there. We're going to get a couple of days of dry weather, though. That's good. I think some people want some dry weather, at least for a few days.
Yeah.
But then we're tracking our next rainmaker. Oh, yeah, another soaker is on the way to East Texas this week. Can you believe that? This is a new pattern for us, right? This one, though, could be followed by some much colder air. Yeah, colder. We're saying that word again. Let's talk much more about it in just a moment. But first, here's a look at your Grant and Flannery weather net site. Hey, Jacksonville, good morning to you. Top of the morning at 62 degrees there. We'll have more on that cooler weather on the way in just a moment.
Storm Tracker Weather is sponsored by ABC Auto Parts and people you can trust.
Well, happy Monday, East Texas. We're starting off with a dry look on Storm Tracker Live Doppler radar. Finally, right? All that rainfall this weekend coming to an end over deep East Texas, but we still have plenty of clouds out there this morning, along with some fog, and in some locations, some very dense fog out there. There's our storm system. This upper low was sitting over East Texas on your Sunday and just kind of pivoted across the area, kept spitting in rain, getting heavier throughout the day. That's the cause of it, but it's finally moving off to the east. We've got that fog this morning, but some dry air will filter on in as we go throughout the day. Watch out for the fog, though. Visibility has been as low as down to 0 in Athens earlier, and you can see visibility still fairly low across the west and northwestern sections of the area. That's where we have a dense fog advisory that's been issued by the National Weather Service, and that goes until 10 a.m. this morning, so make sure that you slow it down, use those low beam headlights, and of course, allow plenty of space between you and the vehicle in front of you as you head out the door. Temperatures comfortable, 50s and lower 60s showing up across the area. Now today we'll see some sunshine peeking through those clouds by this afternoon. That should top us off into the mid 70s for highs, and then tonight we head down into the 50s across East Texas. And we see a southwesterly wind coming into the area on your Tuesday. That should bump us up into the mid-70s once again for your highs. Now, heading into the rest of the week, more rain, believe it or not, is on the way to Texas. We've got this low pressure that's going to move in, increasing our chances of showers and storms on your Thursday night. Looks fairly wet, even into Friday and Saturday as this front kind of hangs up across the area. The difference with this system, though, behind this front, how about some colder air that will filter into East Texas as we head into the upcoming weekend. Overall, though, another inch, maybe as much as an inch and a half of rainfall once again this week with this storm system. Here's your 7-day forecast. Again, foggy this morning. Then we see clearing skies through midweek. Next rain chance Thursday into Friday, followed by colder weather. Check that out, Lane, this weekend. Highs struggling to get into the 60s.
Look at that, and 40s for lows.
That's right.
Oh, they are celebrating still this morning in Kansas City. The Royals have won the World Series for the first time since 1985. That's 30 years. Kansas City beat the New York Mets 7-2 in Game 5. Both teams went at it Sunday night for 12 innings in a game that lasted past midnight. Well, new data on pet health shows that as your furry friend gets older, its chances for developing cancer increases. Coming up here in our next half hour, we'll hear from an East Texas vet on what you can do to help your pet be a survivor. And she's only 4 years old, but she has her first tattoo under her belt. Why this father let his daughter design and tattoo his latest ink. It is 5:56 here on Good Morning East Texas, 60 degrees in Marshall. Stay with us. There's much more ahead in our next hour.
Let the news follow you. From exclusive web content to text and email alerts, get your news wherever you are. From news and weather to high school football or even great cooking recipes, download our family of apps today. Caring, committed, proud of East Texas. You're watching Good Morning East Texas.
Facebook and Twitter and Google and YouTube, they would all host a debate.
Republican revolt. The fallout continues this morning over last week's CNBC debate. And as candidates continue to voice their disappointment in the moderators, their campaign managers are making demands for the next showdown. Tragedy in the air. The bodies of those killed when a plane breaks apart midair are now arriving in Russia. As that country mourns, investigators are looking for how and why it happened. Good morning, East Texas. Thank you for joining us. Today is Monday, November 2nd. Cooler temperatures again this morning, and you're also going to notice some fog. Some of us dealing with poor visibility, Cedric.
And that's exactly right. Good morning, Lane. And of course, as we go throughout the day, we're going to see drier conditions filtering in. But out there now, if you look in the distance there, you can see some of that fog there on the horizon. And we got to get rid of that first this morning before we can see some sunshine. Now, visibility is very low across our northwestern sections here. At times, it's been very close to 0. Yeah, that's right. Almost hard to see it all in front of you here as you drive out and step out the door. So keep in mind, there is a dense fog advisory for our far western counties here from Sulphur Springs to Athens to Van Zandt County down towards Anderson and Houston County as well through 10 a.m. this morning. So slow it down. Use those low beam headlights for you as you step out the door. And of course, allow plenty of space between you and the vehicle in front of you. use extreme caution when you're driving through those school zones as well. Temperatures very comfortable though, upper 50s to lower 60s out there, even with the fog, so definitely not too bad. Storm Tracker Live Doppler radar showing us here finally dry weather showing up on radar after a very wet weekend. The last of our upper low moving off to the east, but boy, another half an inch to an inch of rainfall widespread across East Texas on our Sunday. Luckily, this system is finally moving well out to the east now, so we'll deal with the morning fog, and then some drier weather will make its way in throughout later today and last for a few days. But yeah, there it is. The East Texas rain chances shoot right back up heading into your Thursday and Friday as our next wet weather maker moves our way. At the bus stop this morning, very foggy out there. Some mist also showing up. Temperatures near 60 degrees. And then by this afternoon, we're talking about a mixture of sun and clouds. Temperatures into the low to mid 70s here for you. And then, of course, we'll be drying out for the next few days. But by the end of the work week, we're talking about another 1 inch plus soaker on the way. Then it actually turns colder this weekend, Lane. So a lot to talk about here in just a few moments.
So much happening here, but a chance for things to dry out at least over the next couple of days.
Exactly. Let the grass at least soak in some of that water.
Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
Well, overnight, frustrated Republican presidential candidates were in revolt over debates. They're angry at moderators after CNBC drew criticism for the way it hosted last week's debate. But now the candidates are also voicing concerns with party organizers. During a Sunday night meeting in Washington, representatives from more than a dozen campaigns met behind closed doors. They agreed on a series of demands giving them greater control of debates. And if the demands aren't met, Ben Carson's campaign manager suggested a new venue for the debate stage.
I think we can look beyond television partnerships. Facebook and Twitter and Google and YouTube, they would all host a debate.
After the meeting, these demands emerged. A 2-hour time limit, 30 seconds for opening and closing statements, and equal speaking time for each candidate. The next GOP debate is set for November 10th. The next Democratic debate is November 14th. It's now 6:04, and immigration reform will have to wait until at least 2017 when President Obama leaves office. That's according to newly minted House Speaker Paul Ryan, who says he won't work with President Obama because of the president's executive order to shield millions of illegal immigrants from deportation. Ryan believes President Obama, quote, can't be trusted on the issue. Now to a follow-up. The last person jailed in connection with a deadly biker shootout at a Waco restaurant could be released from jail today. 38-year-old Marcus Pilkington was one of 177 people arrested after the May shooting that left 9 people dead outside this Twin Peaks restaurant. They were all charged with organized criminal activity, but no one has been charged with any of the deaths. Right now, Tyler police are asking for your help finding a shooting suspect. Around 8 o'clock Saturday night, police were called to an apartment complex on Biloxi Drive. The victim says he was sitting in a car when 2 men approached him, opened the door, and shot him in the hand. He was able to get away from the men and was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. This Dallas mother is in custody this morning after police say she tried to kill her 4-year-old son with ant poison. Police say the woman also tried to make 2 other older children eat the poison, but was unsuccessful. The 4-year-old is in stable condition this morning. The other 2 children are with a family member. A police chief is in critical condition after being shot near Waco. Police in Temple say Chief Darrell Allen was working off-duty as a security guard at a bar Sunday morning when he was shot during an altercation. The accused shooter is in custody. He's charged with assault on a peace officer. Now to Russia, where the bodies of the dead are arriving in St. Petersburg after Saturday's tragic airline crash that killed all the passengers returning from a resort town in Egypt. President Vladimir Putin has declared a nationwide day of mourning as experts try to understand how this tragedy happened. ABC's Lana Zach has the story. Good morning.
This morning, the remains of more than 140 bodies are returning to grief-stricken families in St. Petersburg, Russia. Among the 224 dead, 25 children. These photos show happy families ready to make their way home from a vacation in the resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Today, authorities are digging deeper into the mystery of what brought down the plane just 23 minutes after takeoff.
This happened so quickly, so instantaneously, that there may not be any evidence on those black boxes. So what's going to be more important is looking at the wreckage on the ground, how it's laid out.
With 8 miles of scattered debris, one theory, a bomb.
The probability is here with an in-flight breakup that something caused that, something on the order of a bomb or an incendiary explosion of some sort on the airplane.
Another theory, human error or a problem with the plane. The ex-wife of the co-pilot says he had complained about the Airbus 321, including on the morning of the crash. And a final theory, could terrorists on the ground have taken out the plane? An ISIS-linked group claimed responsibility, but intelligence officials say they lack the missiles that could take out a plane flying at 31,000 feet.
Some of the claims of responsibility we're hearing from terrorist groups do not jibe with what might have happened to this airplane.
And while terrorism from the ground is extremely unlikely, according to experts, several airlines have pledged not to fly in that space until authorities determine exactly what went wrong. Lana Zach, ABC News, Washington.
And we have just learned that the Russian minister has announced the black boxes from the plane have been found and are in good condition. Today, classes will resume at Winston-Salem State University in North Carolina after a weekend shooting left one student dead and another hurt. The gunman still on the loose at this hour, and police have not named any suspects or a possible motive. The shooting happened during the school's homecoming weekend. Instead of celebrating, students gathered last night for a candlelight vigil. Investigators in New York are now looking into whether a medical condition may have caused a motorist to smash into a group of trick-or-treaters. The crash killed 3 people, including a 10-year-old girl. Witnesses say the vehicle jumped the curb and went over another parked car before smashing into a gate. The driver and 3 others were hospitalized. They are all expected to recover. Federal investigators are awaiting video confirmation that the wreckage found Saturday in 15,000 feet of water east of the Bahamas is the El Faro. The U.S. cargo ship vanished on October 1st while trying to bypass Hurricane Joaquin. 33 crew members were on board at the time. So far, none of their bodies have been recovered. Officials with the NTSB are hoping they can recover the ship's black box. That might yield clues about how and why the ship went down.
I feel like I'm at tug of war with my heart and my head. That's what I feel like. That's the best way that I can put it. Because my head wants answers, but my heart wants hope. So it's struggling to find that balance.
Officials say the ship will not be recovered, but they say search crews will try to recover any human remains found in the wreckage. Right now, a powerful cyclone is barreling towards Yemen and Oman. Chapala is showing some signs of weakening, but remains a Category 3 storm with sustained winds of 130 miles per hour. Heavy rains and flooding are expected when it makes landfall, which should happen sometime late today or early Tuesday. New this morning on GMET, the Israeli military says soldiers have shot and killed a Palestinian who tried to stab a soldier in the West Bank. The incident happened this morning near a checkpoint between the West Bank and Israel. It's the 3rd attempted stabbing near the checkpoint in recent weeks, and the latest in a 6-week period of violence. So far, 11 Israelis and 69 Palestinians have been killed. Open enrollment is underway for the Affordable Care Act, and the marketplace is expected to be a little more expensive this time around. The Department of Health and Human Services says premiums will increase an average of 8% for the primary insurance plan. But the administration says the number of plans has gone down, and for most areas, the prices have dropped by about $75 a month. You'll have until January 31st to enroll on healthcare.gov. New data shows older pets are at a greater risk of getting cancer. Coming up here, our Alex Ositis will join us with recommendations from an East Texas vet. Plus,
I like to paint my daddy.
Pint-sized apprentice. A tattoo artist goes under the needle with his 4-year-old daughter holding the gun. The tattoo she gave him and why he says she has a future in this family business. Let's get a look at the weather where you live with our Grant and Flannery Neighborhood Weather Net site. In Palestine, it's 59 degrees and calm winds. 6:11's the time here on a Monday. Good morning, East Texas.
Storm Tracker Weather is sponsored by Tyler Ford. On lot or online, we are the real deal.
Well, good morning, East Texas. Outside, we're dealing with clearing skies out there as the rain has come to an end, thankfully. Man, did we see some pretty good rain over the weekend there? That low pressure responsible for it finally pushing off towards Mississippi and moving away from us. Outside this morning, we've got some foggy conditions out there, fog and mist, and we'll see that through the morning. But Some drier air will begin to filter in later on today, and that should have some improving conditions as we go throughout your afternoon hours. Outside now, though, the fog tracker busy, especially across the northwestern sections where visibilities are at or less than a mile in most locations. So slow it down. Use extreme caution. The National Weather Service has issued dense fog advisories for Sulphur Springs down to Athens, Henderson County through Anderson and Houston counties there. Again, use extreme caution, slow it down, use those low beam headlights, and of course, allow plenty of space between you and the vehicle in front of you. Upper 50s and lower 60s with the foggy conditions as we go throughout the afternoon. That fog begins to burn off. We'll see a mixture of sun and clouds. We should climb into the mid-70s for highs. We're heading into the 50s tonight, and we'll be back into the mid-70s again, heading into your Tuesday afternoon as well. Now, we've got our next storm system that will bring us, yes, more rain. It arrives on Thursday. That southwesterly flow is a wet flow for us, so showers and thunderstorms Thursday into Friday. And as this front hangs up in the area, it could stick around through Saturday, but we've got some cold air coming in behind this front, so there's a change for us as the overall pattern begins to change. How about another inch, maybe as much as an inch and a half of rainfall with this system on the way? Your storm tracker 7-day, watch out for that morning fog. Otherwise, a couple of dry days. Next rain chance Thursday into Friday. And check this out. Carrie Compton will love this forecast. How about some colder weather? Highs struggling to get into the 60s by the weekend.
Hey, finally starting to feel like fall around here, and we're almost into winter. That's okay. Hey, starting off with a bit of a unique situation slowing things in Gray County on the interstate this morning. I-20 eastbound past FM 2087, there is a power washer that fell off of a trailer, caught fire crews heading to the scene to put that fire out and, of course, clear that debris from the main lanes. Expect some delays in that area. And if you're heading over to the Metroplex, a wreck causing pretty good backup in the Forney area, Highway 80 just west of FM 548, so you want to keep that in mind. And of course, you can check on all that construction that is going on around East Texas. Just head over to KLTV.com, click on that East Texas traffic link under the news tab. Lane, back to you.
Yeah, kind of a freak accident there with that power washer. Thanks, Carrie. 617, dogs over the age of 10 are at an increased risk of developing cancer. And that's according to some new veterinary data. And while it could surface at any time, there are things that pet owners can do. New this morning, Alex Ositis is here with more about East Texas pets living with cancer. And you spoke with a veterinarian about this new data. What did she say?
Well, Lane, with more than half of aging dogs at risk of cancer, the vet we spoke with says that treating symptoms or tumors before it spreads is key to pet survival rates.
If you're there for months and months on end, they eventually can become cancerous.
Phillips adds most vet clinics in East Texas are able to do at least minimal chemotherapy, saving families with pets traveling time to bigger cities. She explains a recent case at her clinic.
We had a dog that had bladder cancer. We surgically removed as much as we could, and then we followed up with chemotherapy.
That dog with cancer is Harry Patterson. The 8-year-old Westie was diagnosed in spring 2015. Owner Betty describes noticing a change in her beloved pet.
I, of course, am very sensitive to his needs, and I didn't really think of cancer. I just thought he had maybe an infection or something like that.
Betty says Harry is her first dog. When his diagnosis was confirmed,
I cried and cried.
Dr. Phillips says in pets it's hard enough to prevent many cancers, but that spaying and neutering can drastically reduce breast or testicular types. She says when it comes to cats, a diagnosis could be very different.
Tumors are not usually as prevalent in cats, but when they do get them, it's bad.
Patterson says Harry will have to go through one more chemotherapy treatment in a few weeks, then follow up with regular checkups. Lane?
And wishing them all the best. Some good news there for the Pattersons. Thanks, Alex, for that update. 6:19 is your time here on Good Morning East Texas. It is 63 degrees in Nacogdoches. Stay with us. We're back in about 3 minutes.
Storm Tracker Weather is sponsored by Tyler Ford. On lot or online, we are the real deal.
Well, good morning, East Texas. We're looking at, again, things drying out, believe it or not, on Storm Tracker Live Doppler radar, and that's always good to see. The rain has finally come to an end, but boy, what a wet weekend we saw out there. This upper low just kind of sat over East Texas here and kind of pivoted back and forth across the area. Kept spinning in a rain all day on Sunday. finally making its way out to the eastern Mississippi now. Very foggy conditions is what it's leaving behind across the area, but as we go throughout the day, we'll see that dry air beginning to work its way on into East Texas. The fog tracker busy this morning. Visibilities at times have been down to 0 in some locations, so again, that's something that we've got to be alert for today. A dense fog advisory in effect for our far western counties from Sulphur Springs to Van Zandt County, Athens, all the way down towards Houston and Anderson County. Slow it down, use your low beam headlights, and of course allow plenty of space between you and the vehicle in front of you. We're looking at temperatures in the upper 50s to lower 60s this morning. As we go throughout your afternoon, look for highs to climb into the mid 70s as we see some sunshine beginning to peek through the clouds throughout the day. We'll head down into the 50s tonight. We're looking at that southeasterly wind coming in for your Tuesday, so we'll see those highs back into the mid 70s with more sunshine. But you guessed it, it's East Texas, folks, so we're tracking more rain. Our next rain event arrives Thursday. Our next low pressure, southwest flow aloft. We've seen this weather picture before. That means shower and storm chances return across the area Thursday into Thursday night. Some of those could be on the strong side, so we'll have to keep a close eye on that. And then this front kind of hangs up across the area Friday and Saturday, so we'll continue those rain chances. But then it turns colder for the weekend behind this front. That's something that's going to be different. But overall, we're talking about the potential to see another inch of rainfall or so across the area, Lane. So this is going to be a great soaker. But this morning, some fog and then sunshine as we go into the middle of the work week with those mid 70s.
Hey there.
There you are. There you are. Yeah.
It's 6:24 here on GMET. A 94-year-old woman got a chance to thank her rescuers on Sunday after the teens saved her from rushing floodwaters in southeast Texas. Sally Cole was carried out by Austin Rux, Preston Mosley, and Austin Parrish. The teens say waist-deep rushing water had trapped the elderly woman inside her home near Kuntz. The three had to get through waist-deep rushing waters to get to her.
I ain't never seen nothing like it, honestly. It was over my waist, and I'm 6'3", so I ran over here, got a little wet, swam a little bit, I guess you could say, and we got her out.
It's good. Let us know that we did a good deed, because you never know when we might need the help.
The rain got up around us house, right up to the door. I sure thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Cole tried to pay the guys for helping her, but the teens turned down the money. Instead, they all gave Cole their phone numbers in case she ever needed help around the house. The teens spent the rest of the day helping other members of the community who were also dealing with raging floodwaters. A great story there. At just 4 years old, a Florida girl already has a budding career as a tattoo artist. Brad Bellamo is making his mark on the human landscape, so it came as no surprise when his 4-year-old daughter, Chloe, became interested in art. Aside from being clever and cute, Brad says she took to drawing at an early age. Spotting her innate talent, this doting father took a chance and a needle and let his little girl leave her mark on him.
The tattoo's right in here. I mean, I only have so much space left. Yeah. But it was a good spot where I could see and you know, watch and guide her.
Why did you pick a strawberry?
Because it was cute.
I'm not trying to push her into the career, but it's an opportunity where she could, you know, do a few tats, get good at it. Maybe an after-school job versus McDonald's.
I like to paint my daddy.
Brad says his tattoo shop is just like any other family business, and it's one he'd like to pass down to his little girl. A cool way for some daddy-daughter bonding time. It is 6:26 here on Good Morning East Texas. GMET Express is back in about 3 minutes.
New, now, next. GMET Express starts right now.
Welcome everyone to GMET Express. Your time is 6:30.
Who died there? My wife.
Families mourn the death of more than 200 passengers after a Russian plane crashes. What authorities believe happened in the final moments.
Saw the lady coming down the sidewalk crawling. She had jumped out of the window.
The investigation continues to figure out how a fire started at this Smith County apartment complex and the individual taken in for possible arson.
I think we can look beyond television partnerships. Facebook and Twitter and Google and YouTube, they would all host a debate.
GOP campaign managers lay out new demands, the changes they want for future debates.
And we're continuing with a few traffic troubles this morning as you head out. I'll have one more check on your morning commute coming up shortly.
And we're tracking fog. That's the story this morning. We'll see clearing skies later, but more rain's on the way. Those details coming up as GMET Express continues.
Overnight, a Russian government plane has taken the bodies of 144 victims from the passenger plane crash in Egypt back to Russia. Officials say the plane lost speed before going down, and they say there was no technical problem that could have caused that plane to break up in the air. According to investigators, the cause of the crash could have only been a mechanical impact on the plane in the air. They say the plane broke up at high altitude. This morning, officials say the black boxes have been found and are in good condition. At this hour, back in East Texas, authorities are still investigating a fire at Scenic Hills Apartments on South Industrial Drive in Lindale. That blaze started shortly before 4 a.m. on Sunday. 26-year-old Tiffany Collins is now charged with arson. Bond is set at $750,000. Residents have been allowed to gather whatever belongings weren't damaged in the fire. Some lost everything and can no longer live in their apartments.
Saw the lady coming down the sidewalk crawling. She had jumped out of the window. I got right on the phone with 911, let them know what was going on and everything, and I helped everybody else get out by yelling their names and fire.
The fire marshal's office is still trying to determine exactly how the blaze began. Now to a follow-up. Tyler police are asking for your help to find 2 shooting suspects. Around 8 o'clock Saturday night, police were called to an apartment complex on Biloxi Drive. The victim says he was sitting in a car when 2 men approached him, opened the door, and shot him in the hand. He got away from the men and was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Call Tyler police if you have any information. Republican presidential candidates have agreed on a series of demands giving them greater control of debates. Representatives from more than a dozen campaigns met behind closed doors Sunday night in Washington. The changes include bypassing the Republican National Committee and coordinating with network hosts, mandatory opening and closing statements, an equal number of questions for the candidates, and pre-approval of on-screen graphics. House Speaker Paul Ryan is ruling out comprehensive immigration reform while President Barack Obama is in office. Ryan says he will not work with the president because he went around Congress with an executive order. It protects millions of people living here illegally from deportation. He believes the president, quote, can't be trusted on the issue. Ryan's decision pushes off any overhaul until at least 2017 when Mr. Obama leaves office. A Kabul official says authorities will take back all Afghan citizens being deported from Germany, which is struggling to accommodate hundreds of thousands of refugees and other migrants. After Syrians, Afghans make up the 2nd largest nationality arriving in Europe currently. New on GMET Express, the United States and South Korea are pledging to strengthen their combined defenses against what they describe as threats by North Korea. At a joint news conference on Sunday, Defense Secretary Ash Carter called North Korea an up-close, dangerous, and continuing threat. Now to an update. The NTSB says the U.S. cargo ship that sank east of the Bahamas during Hurricane Joaquin might have landed upright on the ocean floor. Investigators are going by sonar, so they're still awaiting confirmation, but it's a possibility that wreckage found Saturday in 15,000 feet of water is El Faro, which went missing a month ago with 33 crew members on board. At 6:34, investigators in New York City are looking into whether a medical problem might have caused a driver to smash into a group of trick-or-treaters Saturday night. The driver's car jumped the curb in a neighborhood and killed a 65-year-old man, his 10-year-old granddaughter, and a 24-year-old man. 3 other people were hurt. This morning, a Dallas mother is behind bars on capital murder charges for forcing her 4-year-old child to ingest poison. Now, Dallas police say Pa A also tried to force her 2 other children to eat poison, but was unsuccessful. The 4-year-old is in the hospital right now in stable condition. The other 2 children, 7 and 12-year-olds, are with family members. A is being held on $500,000 bond at the Dallas County Jail. Former U.S. Senator Fred Thompson is dead at the age of 73. His family says Thompson died Sunday in Nashville after a recurrence of lymphoma. The 6'6" folksy Tennessee lawyer with the booming voice also appeared in at least 20 motion pictures and in the TV series Law & Order. His film credits include In the Line of Fire, The Hunt for Red October, Die Hard 2, and Cape Fear. A powerful cyclone is barreling toward Yemen and Oman. Chapala is showing some signs of weakening, but it remains a Category 3 storm with sustained winds of 220 kilometers per hour. Heavy rains and flooding are expected when it makes landfall, which should happen later today or early Tuesday. Open enrollment is underway for the Affordable Care Act, and the marketplace is expected to be a little more expensive for you this time around. The Department of Health and Human Services says premiums will increase an average of 8% for the primary insurance plan. But the administration says the number of plans has gone down, and for most areas, the prices have dropped by about $75 a month. You'll have until January 31st to enroll on healthcare.gov.
Inside corner, the Royals, 2015 World Champions.
That's right, the Kansas City Royals are World Series champions. The Royals beat the New York Mets 7-2 in 12 innings in Game 5 last night. Kansas City's last World Series title 30 years ago in 1985. Celebrating with an ice bath there. We saw plenty of water here in East Texas over the weekend. Let's get a check of the weather where you live now with Cedric Haynes. Kind of drying out this morning.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're seeing some drier air in place, but right now we're dealing with some very patchy, dense fog, especially across our northwestern sections. But take a look at those rain chances. That's some good news for you. We get a couple of days to dry things out, but then those rain chances shoot back up towards the end of the work week. And yes, it looks to be another good soaker with the potential of at least another inch of rainfall. We've got all the details for you coming up right after the break.
Storm Tracker Weather is sponsored by Patterson-Tyler Volkswagen. Come experience the Patterson difference at PattersonTylerVW.com.
Well, happy Monday, East Texas. We're finally seeing things looking dry on Storm Tracker Live Doppler radar. That's after all the rainfall we saw this weekend, thanks to a pesky upper low pressure that just sat over East Texas, pivoted more and more rainfall throughout the area all day Sunday. Thankfully, now it's over into Mississippi and moving away from us. We've got some foggy conditions out there this morning. That's the big story. By later on today, though, we'll see some dry air making its way in and should see some clearing skies later today. Now, visibilities have been quite low across the northwestern sections of the area. In fact, down to 0 at times due to that fog, and the National Weather Service has issued a dense fog advisory through 10 a.m. from Sulphur Springs down to Athens and Anderson and Houston counties there. So make sure you slow it down, use your low beam headlights, and of course allow plenty of space between you and the vehicle in front of you thanks to that fog that's out there. We're in the upper 50s to lower 60s across the area this morning. As we go throughout the day, we'll see those highs climbing into the mid 70s as we see some sunshine beginning to break through those clouds as we go throughout your day. And then tonight we'll head down into the 50s across the area before highs warm back into the mid 70s thanks to a southeasterly wind heading into your Tuesday. Now, yeah, you know, let's talk about the next chance of rain because it's out there, folks. Another system dives in from the southwest, giving us increased chances of scattered showers and storms going throughout our Thursday, right into your Thursday night as well. Looks to be quite wet. And then this front kind of hangs up across East Texas, so rain chances will still stick around into your Friday and Saturday until we can push this front to the south. And then it may be followed by some colder weather heading into the weekend. We'll have more on that for you in the 7-day in just a few moments. But first, let's talk about these rainfall totals with this system. Another inch, maybe as much as an inch and a half of rainfall will be possible once again with our storm. So a morning mist and fog today, 74, but a mixture of sun and clouds as we go throughout your Tuesday and Wednesday with highs in the mid 70s. So Lane, at least some time to dry out before our next chance of rain and maybe even some colder weather for the weekend.
Oh boy, well, we're going to have to pull out those blankets and long sleeve shirts and jackets.
And that's exactly right. 'Tis the season.
Your advance notice right here. Thanks, Cedric. It is 6:42. Let's give away our Good Morning East Texas coffee mug. Our winner today, William Hickman of Woden. Congratulations, William. Welcome to the club. To enter the drawing for your very own GMET coffee mug, just log on to KLTV.com or KTRE.com, then click the Win Stuff tab on our homepage. Time now for your Morning Minute. An E. coli scare has temporarily closed more than 40 Chipotle restaurants in the Northwest. Health officials say 22 E. coli cases in Washington State and Oregon have been linked to the restaurant. 8 people have been hospitalized as of this morning, but there are no reported deaths. Chipotle says it'll work with officials to figure out what caused the contamination. Sherwin-Williams says it's created a paint that can kill bacteria. It claims to kill over 99.9% of bacteria after they've been on a painted surface for 2 hours. The product can be used on hard, non-porous ceilings, walls, doors, and trim, and is reportedly effective for up to 4 years. It'll come in almost 600 colors and be available in the U.S. in 2016. And energy giant Chevron is set to cut up to 7,000 jobs this morning. This means about 10% of the company's global workforce will be laid off. Low crude oil prices are fueling the cuts, and the company is also selling billions in assets and cutting its exploration budget. And that's a look at some of the stories making headlines this morning, all in a minute. Stay with us. We're back after this.
Storm Tracker Weather is sponsored by Patterson-Tyler Volkswagen. Come experience the Patterson difference at PattersonTylerVW.com.
Well, good Monday, East Texas. We are waking up. Check this out. Storm Tracker Live Doppler radar, all quiet. No rainfall, if you can believe that, out there across the area. But what a weekend of soaking rain here in East Texas. I'll tell you what, we saw a break for the trick-or-treaters as expected, but then this pesky upper low came and just sat over East Texas on Sunday and kept pivoting rain back into the area. And it was a wet one, folks, but thankfully we just got some fog out there this morning, a little mist with that, and then we should see some drier and improving weather making its way into East Texas as we go into the afternoon and evening hours. Fingers crossed on that there. We get a little period of drying out before, yes, our next storm system heads our way. More on that in just a second. Outside this morning, though, fog tracker showing us some low visibilities in the northwestern sections of the area. In fact, at times we've been watching this, it's been as low as 0 in some locations there, so you guys got to slow it down and use caution out there. There are distant fog advisories that are in effect for places like Sulphur Springs down to Van Zandt, Kilver towards Athens and Anderson and Houston counties there. So again, just slow it down, use those low beams headlights out there for you, and allow plenty of space between you and the vehicle in front of you as you step out the door. Temperatures are starting off fairly comfortable as you step out the door. How about upper 50s and lower 60s? Not bad at all as you head out to work and school this morning. We'll see some sunshine beginning to try to break through these clouds and the fog by the afternoon and evening hours, and that'll help bump our temperatures up into the mid-70s across the area. Now tonight we'll drop back down into the 50s. Another nice night headed our way, and heading into your Tuesday, not bad. We'll see a southeasterly flow. That means warmer air, so highs will climb into the mid-70s. But yes, we are tracking our next rainmaker on the way Thursday, making its way towards East Texas. That means a southwest flow aloft. That's a wet flow for us. Scattered showers and storms break out on your Thursday, and they will continue into your Thursday night. Looks fairly wet. Even on your Friday, this front kind of hangs up across the area, so more off and on rain chances into your Saturday as well. The difference with this system behind it, yeah, check this out. Some much colder air begins to filter on into the area. Our first real significant blast of cool air for the month of November. So let's check it out for you here. Rainfall totals about 1 inch to 1.5 inches here as we go towards the end of the work week. And then we say hello to some colder air. So we got that morning fog today, 74, mid-70s Tuesday and Wednesday as we kind of dry things out a bit. But next chance of showers and storms Thursday into Friday, even into Saturday, followed by, yes, much colder weather lane. Highs struggling to get in the 60s, lows in the 30s and 40s.
Another real taste of fall.
That's exactly right. Get the sweaters and the jackets back out.
Be careful out there this morning in that fog.
Definitely. Slow it down in the school zones.
Okay. Breaking overnight, one person is dead and another is in the hospital after a fiery crash south of Texarkana. Witnesses reported multiple explosions around 10 o'clock last night on Highway 59 near the Sulphur River. And this is new video into our newsroom this morning. Bowie County authorities tell us one of the 2 vehicles involved was a tanker believed to have been loaded with some kind of fuel. That fire then spread to the woods next to the highway. Law enforcement tell us one person did die at the scene. At this point, we don't know the condition of the other person who was taken to the hospital, and the names of those involved have not been released.
When we come around the curve right there, we seen it light up. I mean, it had this whole side lit up.
Both lanes of Highway 59 there in Bowie County will remain closed through the morning commute. A hazmat crew is at the scene right now cleaning up the mess, and we'll continue following this story right here throughout the morning and during our news updates during GMA. As early as today, the last person jailed in connection with a deadly biker gang shootout at a Waco restaurant could be released from jail. That Waco jail was processing the release of 38-year-old Marcus Pilkington this weekend on a $50,000 bond. Pilkington was one of 177 people arrested after the May shooting left 9 people dead. They were all charged with organized criminal activity, but no one has been charged with any of the deaths just yet. More than half of aging dogs are at risk of cancer, according to some new veterinary data. Harry Patterson is an 8-year-old Westie who was just treated for bladder cancer. His vet says most clinics in East Texas are able to do at least minimal chemotherapy, saving families with pets time traveling to bigger cities. Betty Patterson, his owner, describes noticing a change in her beloved pet.
I didn't really think of cancer. I just thought he had maybe an infection or something like that.
Patterson says Harry will have one more chemo treatment in a few weeks and then regular checkups. Well, a lot has changed for this 97-year-old Michigan woman now that she's been presented with an honorary diploma. She was forced to drop out of high school back in 1932 to help take care of her younger siblings after her mom died of cancer. This summer, one of her relatives contacted the school and told them her story. And that's when the principal knew they had to give her that diploma. The now graduate went on to do clerical work for the armed forces and even became a preschool teacher. Those at the school say she is a shining example of what they hope all their graduates might be. And congratulations to her. 6:52 here on GMET Express. We'll be right back with a last look at weather, traffic, and 7 things to know before you go. Stay with us.
This Traffic Watch is sponsored by Southside Bank, where banking is made easy.
Let's take a last look at your traffic this morning. We're in Gregg County in the Kilgore area along I-20 eastbound, just past FM 2087 rather. There's that power washer that's fallen off of a vehicle, and that fire is now extinguished and has been cleared from the main lane, so we're seeing traffic kind of pick up back in that area. Also in Kaufman County, if you're heading out towards the Metroplex this morning, Highway 80 west of FM 548, there's a wreck there on Highway 80 that's slowing some traffic, so you'll see some added time to your morning commute in that area. And of course, you'll want to keep an eye out on foggy conditions all across East Texas this morning. Just slow it down and be careful as you're heading to work or school. Now, here's some of the morning's top stories before you walk out the door. It's 7 things to know before you go. Open enrollment is underway for the Affordable Care Act, and some premiums are expected to increase by about 8%. GOP presidential candidates have agreed on a series of demands giving them greater control of debates, including mandatory opening and closing statements and an equal amount of speaking time. Federal investigators are hopeful they can retrieve the black boxes from wreckage they believe is missing U.S. cargo ship El Faro. Investigators are still waiting for video to confirm they found the ship's wreckage. Both lanes of Highway 59 in Bowie County remain closed after a late-night crash left one person dead and sent another person to the hospital. The last person jailed in connection with this deadly biker gang shootout at a Waco restaurant could be released from jail today. The Smith County Fire Marshal's office is still investigating a fire at Scenic Hills Apartments in Lindale. 26-year-old Tiffany Collins is now charged with arson in connection to the blaze. And the investigation continues into the plane crash that killed 224 people in Egypt over the weekend. The bodies of the dead are arriving in Russia as officials work to identify those victims. Cedric Haynes is here now with your weather to go.
All right, it is a foggy start out there this morning, 63 degrees. You can see that fog and mist coming down now. The good news, the main rain low pressure system is moving off to the east of us, so we're going to see that fog this morning. Drier weather building in as we go throughout the day, but a dense fog advisory in effect for our western counties from Sulphur Springs down to Athens over towards Anderson and Houston counties. So slow it down, use your low beam headlights and allow plenty of space between you and the vehicle in front of you as we go throughout mid-morning there, as that fog will be quite dense, especially in the school zone. So again, use extreme caution. We go from the 60s into the mid-70s this afternoon. Again, should see the sunshine peeking through the clouds by the afternoon hours. Your Storm Tracker 7-day forecast calls for a few dry days ahead before our next rainmaker arrives Thursday into Friday. Could see some thunderstorms on Thursday afternoon, and then off and on rain chances Friday into Saturday. Behind that front, some much colder air. How about highs struggling to get into the 60s, lows back into the 30s and 40s.
And of course, in areas where we're seeing some fog carry, it looks like this could create some traffic troubles.
Yeah, definitely, and it already is.
Make it a great Monday, everyone. We're back during GMA with news and weather.
Let the news follow you. From exclusive web content to text and email alerts, get your news wherever you are. From news and weather to high school football or even great cooking recipes, download our family of apps today. Daniel Gray.